When you do a fishing show, there's always that temptation to go for the big fish, nice fish approach. But this week we're taking a different approach. We're going after a fish that's not always the biggest. In fact, it usually isn't, but it's got a big heart and is close to the hearts of all fly fishermen. I'm talking about the brook trout, the Salvelinus fontanellus, native to the Appalachian Mountains all up and down the East Coast. These magnificent fish have suffered much for a variety of reasons. But thankfully, we've got some great people who have teamed up to help restore some vital brook trout habitat along the legendary Shavers Fork in West Virginia. Stick around because you're going to see me catch some mighty small fish and have an inspiring time doing it. Traveling the world, fishing, enjoying the great outdoors. Those are things that would have seemed impossible to me when I was a kid growing up in the mountains of West Virginia. I'm a lucky man, and I never want to forget it, and I'm hoping that sharing my experiences with folks will inspire them to do the same. I'm Curtis Fleming, and these are my Fly Rod Chronicles.
My father used to take me to the upper Shavers Fork when I first started fishing. The fishing actually started declining. You know, when America's national symbol, the bald eagle, was threatened, we went into action. And today, the bald eagle has come back. And it's amazing to see them flying over the rivers that we fished. And now today, we have another symbol that, as fishermen, worries us, and that's the brook trout. So in this episode, we're going to introduce you to people that I think are heroes, true heroes for preservation of our brook trout.
I'm going to spend a little time fishing for brookies and a little time with the folks working so hard to save them, and I'm hoping you'll spend a little time with us.
Man, I love the act of just getting to where it is I'm going to fish. Even places I've fished 100 times, like Shavers Fork. Shavers Fork hugs the eastern base of Cheat Mountain, a rugged ridge that runs roughly 50 miles from north to south. And there aren't a whole lot of roads in and out of the drainage, as you'll see. Much of the river is only accessible by train track. Once I'm there, I can't wait to get on the water.
You know, this brings back some memories as I walk these train tracks. I like to have a nickel, a dime, a penny for every mile I've walked on these tracks. You know, again, these tracks go 30 some miles of Shavers Fork River, so you utilize them instead of walking in the river, and you kind of look for the sections where you think fish is going to be. But I've put a lot of miles, wore out a lot of wading boots on these tracks. You know, if you look at some of these feeding zones right here, meaning the deeper water, there's a caddis hatch happening. It's midday, and I mean, it's incredible how they're coming up and they're bouncing on the water. The thing is, we don't see any rises going on, or we'd throw a dry fly on. Right there's a caddis that's coming down through the rapids. So we're going to go down below, do some emerger, and try to simulate the caddises coming off the bottom and see if we can pull some fish out of this hole. It's just beautiful.
It's great to be standing here playing a healthy brook trout, much the way a person would have 150 years ago. Trouble is, the only reason I'm playing this fish is due to intensive management and restoration practices by the state of West Virginia's Division of Natural Resources and others. This fish was put here so they could, at the very least, preserve the experience of catching brookies in Shavers Fork. Some folks may say that's crazy, but I'll tell you what's crazy: not doing that. If we don't encourage folks to fish here, meaning buying license and paying that trout stamp fee and creating new generations of people who fish, there will be less and less money available to spend to restore the fish and the genuine experience. And both need all the help they can get.
I mean, the memories are just kind of racing through my mind. I mean, this is where my dad brought me, right here to these waters. I look as far as I can see down this way. There's no fishermen. I look as far upstream, no fishermen. Because it's so vast and so hard to get into, there is fishermen on the river, but there's just so much room. What a thrill. I got to do it again.
It's a great feeling seeing these committed individuals looking out for such a great fish.
Join me after the break for more Fly Rod Chronicles. Hey, there's a lot more going on Fly Rod Chronicles behind the scene. If you want to check us out, go to our Facebook or Twitter. There are several reasons the brookies declined in Shaver's Fork. Much of the fish's troubles were caused by heavy logging that took place over 100 years ago. You complicate that with having tributaries cut off by the railroad tracks that hauled the timber, and then throw in acid rain and snow. Well, the brook trout's a tough little fish, but the combination was almost too much to overcome. I spent part of the trip with Gordon Robertson of the American Sport Fishing Association and Ed Galford, who hosted us at nearby Snowshoe Resort.
So Gordon, we're fishing some waters that's been here for a long time, huh?
We certainly are, and you know, the work here that West Virginia DNR has done is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's rolled back the clock and it's made fishing great again, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, speaking back about rolling back the clock, Ed, tell us a little bit about the history here.
This area is known as the town of Spruce. It was originally set up as a pulp peeling location for the West Virginia Pulp and Paper Company back in 1904. They came to this area because of all the red spruce trees, and they wanted this particular species to make paper in their mill located in Covington, Virginia.
So when did spruce get dismantled, Ed?
After Western Maryland went through their life here at Spruce, probably around 1950. The diesel engine changed everything for them, and they didn't need a place to store coal and water for steam engines, which was what Spruce was for, and they also used the helper engines to bring coal and timber up from Slaty Forks. But basically, around 1950, everything shifted down to the Slaty Fork area.
When you land a brook trout, you're looking at the same fish that filled these waters when the first settlers came into the mountains. We pride ourselves on preserving American history, which is all the more reason to work to protect their habitat. The good news is the effects of acid rain and snow have been corrected, and the Shaver's brook trout will no longer have to try and survive unhealthy pH levels in the water. But the acid levels are only one part of the challenge that remains. It all starts with controlling water temperature.
So Gordon, it's not only cool standing right here near a restoration program that's been put together, we're standing with pretty much a legend here in West Virginia with Steve. I mean, Steve's done a lot of work here in West Virginia.
Right, for 20 years at least, Steve has been working on stream restoration and projects like this, which is an Eastern Brook Trout joint venture project, and that is a great thing. And we'll say something else about that in a minute. Tell us about this.
It was quite a project. We did this in October, pretty much all in October last fall. The reason we needed to do this project, basically, we had a 120-foot long culvert. When fish needed to move out of the main stem up in here for thermal refuge and to spawn.
Hang on a second, Steve. You're throwing some big boy words around. Thermal refuge? That sent me to the Oxford English Dictionary again. Thermal, of or relating to heat. And refuge, a condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble. Well, we all know that heat is mean to trout. It's deadly. So a thermal refuge is a place for trout to find the cold water they need to survive.
So what we've created now is a series of about 16, 17 step pools up through here that, just take them one at a time. And, this little outflow here over that baffle, that's a wriggle for a brook trout. It's no biggie.
Yeah, that's it.
This project it'll definitely outlast even my kids, So it's something that you got a shot at leaving some kind of legacy behind. How can you not do that?
Yeah. Well, you've only got 40 more years left.
Yeah, I'm not quite as steady in the water as I used to be, but I do love it, and this stream fishes pretty nicely up here, actually.
Good call. Wow. Really nice brook trout. You put me on fish. Now see, we're friends again. That's a great fish. That's a great fish. Look at that one. That's a chunk right there. That's awesome. We'll take a little break. Be back with Fly Rod Chronicles right after this.
It's pretty ironic. It was the arrival of the railroad and those steam-powered chaise engines that led to the demise of the brook trout in Shavers Fork. And it's literally those same chaise engines that are helping to bring about their recovery. Brook trout are not only beautiful to look at and fun to catch, they are fascinating to observe. If you're lucky, you might be able to crawl up on your belly on a crisp autumn day and watch them go through the dancing spawning ritual, their white tip fins flashing in the sunlight.
You have to be a mender in this water. Water's up a little bit. And a swinger. I don't want that to go public, but you do have to swing. And there he is, Rick. Oh, and I lost him. Oh, okay, so got to think about this. I think they're laying right there. Maybe a bigger min to slow down and get that natural drift. There's my min, and probably do a second min to slow it down. And then when it gets to fast water, kind of hot stick it. Right there, right at the bottom. Right at the bottom of the hole. That's the last fish of the end of that hole right there. I mean, wow. There you go. That is so cool. That looks like one of our brook trout.
In West Virginia, we call our brook trout, we call them natives. It's our state fish. I know in North Carolina, they call them spots. People in West Virginia, when they find a native brook trout stream, they would rather tell you gossip on their brothers, their mothers, or their sisters before they would tell you where their favorite brook trout stream is.
And it is a brookie. How cool is that? Look at hands. I tell you what, these brook trout, they're wily. They are nuts. It's just unbelievable. All right, buddy. Well, there we go. There's another brook trout up here on Upper Shavers Fork.
The logging of the red spruce affected the river in a number of ways. For starters, the resulting lack of tree cover contributed to the heating up of the water, as we have seen. But more than that, it led to a destabilization of the banks of the very structure of the river. Shavers today is wider and shallower than it has ever been for tens of thousands of years. The result? Warmer water, less cover, less structure. but Paul Kinder can talk about this way better than me.
Oh, there he is, there he is. I think it's a brook trout. It is a West Virginia native brook trout. I'm hoping they got the fly take on it. He come up and hit this little humpy. Who told me to use the humpy? Huh?
Only the beginning, brother.
Look at this, look right here. How old is this fish? I mean, do we know?
This year's
fish, okay. So, right there is the beginning. That is the fruit of your hard labor. And I mean, honestly, you guys have been in here for how long now?
5 years, planning and doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know where do you start to thank people here?
It's a long list, and you'll inevitably forget somebody.
Right.
Lots of partners. West Virginia DNR, of course WVU's involved, Trout Unlimited, the Shavers Fork Coalition, Mr. Mollahan, member of Congress. And he was really the genesis of it and had the vision of wanting to see us put back what was here. Boy, Curtis, the list is long. Yeah. This is called a J-hook, and it's really kind of a neat one because it's done out of wood and rock. A lot of times they're just done from rock.
Yep.
And so you use native local materials, makes it a little easier, a little more natural. But over time, Curtis, this place, you won't even know that we were here. Mother Nature will, all we're doing is hastening the pace of what Mother Nature, and to see that little brook trout.
It's only going to get better, and that's our goal, is to get this stream back to where it was at in the 1900s.
Absolutely.
And Paul, honestly, I can't tell you how much this means to me and from the state of West Virginia to be part of something like this. This is incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I'm thrilled to have you here, and thank you for what you're doing because, well, you're West Virginian, and you know we got a lot of good things to offer here. A lot of good things.
That it is. So, hey, thanks for hanging out with Fly Rod Chronicles, Paul Kinder.
With Paul Kinder, who is telling us a little more about the efforts to improve fish access to the tributaries of Shavers Fork.
We have a fabulous little brook trout stream up here, reproducing brook trout. It's kind of interesting, a lot of these streams, it looks pretty small here, but once you get up in there, it kind of opens up. That's a spruce forest, you know, It's not like it was, but if you were 2 foot tall, it would be like it was everywhere up here before the turn of the century. So it's just really like walking back in time there. When we did our reconnaissance, every time we stopped here, we had brook trout in this pool trying to get back up.
They couldn't get through.
Couldn't get through.
Yeah.
So you know, these guys are kind of selecting themselves out of the gene pool because the ones that can leave, you know, aren't getting back, and you're getting this isolation. So just important, pretty obviously important tributary to work on.
All right.
Sometimes in our pursuit of big fish and big waters, we often miss out on quality small stream fishing. I decided to follow up one of these little cold feeder creeks to see if I couldn't tempt a few brookies to rise to the fly.
There he goes, there he goes. Here we go. We got some West Virginia brook trout right here. I know he's not big, but that's what it's about right there. That's a West Virginia brook trout. There he goes. We're up here on Upper Shavers Fork looking at some restoration projects, and right there is a result of the restoration project. I know it's only a little fish, but this excites me because they're going to get bigger and the projects are even going to get better. Let's keep heading up the stream.
Small stream fishing is an art to itself. It's also incredibly rewarding. You will never get closer to a trout or develop a better idea of how they live. Some days they smash anything you put out there. Other times you have to roll cast beneath the laurel and hope for the best.
I know he's not big, but he's a West Virginia brook trout. How cool. Look at this guy. All right, man, we can't quit. We got the snow coming down. We got to get one more. I see one more little good hole right up here. You know, as we talk about stream restoration, this is a natural sponge pool right here where there's got to be brook trout living in there. and you can tell that the stream is climbing in elevation and makes a nice little pool for them. So we're gonna try this little humpy and see what we can get into here.
It's time for this week's Trout Unlimited Take of the Week.
There he is, there he is, there he is. There he is, there. Oh, it's a good. We got some West Virginia brook trout again. Look at this guy. Look at that guy. Love it. And he's off. It's just awesome, man. I mean, I know this is not deep sea fishing. I know it's not big fish, but it is brook trout fishing at its finest.
You know what's wonderful about fishing this little creek? Knowing that thanks to the work on a culvert that's properly reconnected to the main stem of Shavers Fork and provides a cool place for brook trout to hide, to live, and to spawn. And you know what's even better? These tiny trout I'm catching, they were born here. Join us again next time on Fly Rod Chronicles.